After work, my secretary picked a duet. Then sang, "Take Me Home With You." The moment Sarah sang those words, the entire room went silent. Take me home with you. She didn't sing them like a joke. She didn't smile at the audience. She looked directly at me. And suddenly, the small karaoke bar we'd entered after work felt like the most dangerous place I'd ever been. Because Sarah wasn't just my secretary. She was the woman who had spent the last 3 years keeping my life organized, covering for my mistakes, reminding me about meetings, and quietly knowing when I was having a bad day before I said a word. She was also the one person at work I had promised myself I would never cross a line with. That promise lasted until that night. It had been one of the longest days of my career. Our company had just closed a major deal, and everyone in the office wanted to celebrate. By 8 o'clock, most of my team had gone home. I was packing my laptop when Sarah appeared beside my desk. "You're still working?" I looked up. "So are you." She smiled. "That's because I work for you." I laughed. "Fair enough." She picked up my coffee cup and frowned. "You've been drinking this since 3 in the afternoon." "I like cold coffee." "No. You like pretending you're too busy to take care of yourself." I stared at her. She stared back. Then she sighed. "Come on." "Where?" "Somewhere that doesn't have spreadsheets." I hesitated. "Sarah. It's not a date." I didn't say it was. "You were thinking it." I couldn't help smiling. 20 minutes later, we were sitting in a small lounge across town. It wasn't fancy. There were old leather booths, warm lights, music playing softly in the background, and a small karaoke stage near the bar. Sarah looked completely different outside the office. At work, she usually wore professional suits, kept her hair tied back, and carried a tablet everywhere. Tonight, she'd changed into a striking red outfit that made her look confident and almost fearless. I caught myself staring. She noticed. "You're staring." I was thinking. "About?" "How different you look outside the office." She raised an eyebrow. "Different good or different bad?" "Definitely good." For the first time that evening, she looked slightly nervous. Then she turned toward the karaoke screen. "Pick a song." "I don't sing." "Neither do I." "You're literally choosing a song." "Exactly." She selected a duet. I groaned. "Sarah, no." She laughed. "Come on. One song. I'll embarrass myself. Then we'll be embarrassed together." She handed me the second microphone. The music began. At first, we were terrible. We laughed through half the lyrics, missed several notes, and nearly stopped the song twice because we couldn't stop laughing. But somewhere between the jokes and the music, something changed. I looked at Sarah. She wasn't laughing anymore. She was watching me. The song slowed. Her voice became softer. And then she sang the next line. "Take me home with you." I froze. She kept singing. But her eyes never left mine. The song continued, yet I barely heard the music. When it ended, the room applauded. Sarah lowered the microphone. I walked back to the booth. "What was that?" She looked down. "A song. You know what I mean." She took a breath. "I meant what I sang." My heart started pounding. "Sarah. I know." She looked at me. "I know you're my boss. And you're my employee." "I know." "Then why would you say something like that?" She smiled sadly. "Because I've been trying not to say it for 3 years." That answer hit harder than anything else could have. I sat down across from her. 3 years? She nodded. "I noticed you the first month I started working for you. I laughed nervously. You never showed it. That was the point. Why? Because I knew you wouldn't cross the line. I looked at her carefully. And now? Now I'm wondering if the line was the only thing keeping us apart. Neither of us spoke. The bartender placed 2 glasses on the table. Sarah didn't touch hers. Neither did I. Finally, I said, if we did this. She interrupted. Don't. Don't what? Don't make it sound like a mistake before it even happens. I looked away. She was right. I'd spent years being careful. Careful with my reputation. Careful with the company. Careful with her. But I'd never asked myself what Sarah wanted. And more importantly, I'd never asked myself what I wanted. That night, I finally knew the answer. I want to take you home, I said. Her expression softened. But not because you're my secretary. She waited. I want to take you home because you're Sarah. She smiled. That's the first thing you've said tonight that I believe. We left the lounge around midnight. The city was quiet. As we walked toward my car, Sarah stopped. You know this changes everything. I know. If we do this, I don't want to be your secretary anymore. I looked at her. Then tomorrow morning, we'll change that. She blinked. You're serious? Completely. She smiled. For once, I'm glad you're my boss. I laughed. You won't be saying that tomorrow. Why? Because tomorrow I'm going to have to find a new secretary. She laughed. Good. We reached the car. But before I opened the door, she touched my arm. Wait. I turned. She looked nervous again. What? Tonight wasn't about the song. I know. It wasn't about making you jealous or flirting with you. I know. She stepped closer. I just wanted you to know how I felt before I lost the courage. I smiled. You didn't lose it. No? You found it. She smiled. And for the first time in 3 years, there was no desk between us. No calendar. No meetings. No professional titles. Just 2 people standing under a quiet city sky, finally admitting what they'd both been afraid to say. The next morning, Sarah walked into my office carrying a folder. She placed it on my desk. What is this? My resignation. I opened it. You didn't have to do this. Yes, I did. I looked at her. Effective immediately? She nodded. I smiled. Good. She frowned. Good. I stood. I already talked to HR. She stared at me. About what? Your new position. She blinked. What position? I handed her another folder. She opened it. Her eyes widened. You're offering me a management position? You've been doing half the work already. She looked at me for several seconds. And what about us? I smiled. That part is not in the company handbook. She laughed. No, it definitely isn't. So? She closed the folder. So I think we should find out. Months later, people at the company still talked about the night of the karaoke duet. Not because they knew what happened. They didn't. They only knew that after that night, Sarah stopped being my secretary. She became one of the company's youngest managers. And I stopped being the man who stayed late every night pretending work was enough. As for the song, we never sang it again. Because we didn't need to. The first time Sarah sang, "Take Me Home With You," I thought she was asking me to take her somewhere. I eventually realized she was asking me to let her into my life. And that was the one request I never wanted to refuse. Sometimes the person sitting quietly beside you isn't waiting for you to notice them. They're waiting for you to finally notice what you've been feeling all along. And sometimes, all it takes is one song to turn 3 years of silence into a beginning.